Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So moving away from cross-border payments, well, I mean, not moving away from them, but looking to continue and, putting more resources into new verticals, guys. This is what Brad Garlinghouse did talk about the other day. This coming from Ian Binns on Twitter. The Daily Hodl is reporting Ripple looking to deploy $1 billion, guys, with a B, to grow and acquire firms in the crypto industry. So we talked a little bit about this the other day. Here is a quote from what Brad said from a conference. I think what will be next is certainly something Ripple thinks about. We started with enterprise-based cross-border payment solutions. We talked about there being 4 primitive pieces to blockchain-based technologies: liquidity, compliance, custody, and tokenization. And Ripple really aspires to be more than just that liquidity and cross-border payments. I think you'd expect that we will expand into some of those other areas, either organically or through acquisition. So we talked about those 4 cornerstones, and liquidity, compliance. This is kind of what Ripple has been doing up till now. But custody now, right, with the Medico acquisition, and tokenization. This is where Ripple sees the company moving forward. And it was funny because a few years ago we were, I've made so many videos. It's crazy what I'm remembering just kind of randomly here and there. But several years ago, I think this must have been, I'd say 2019. We were, Brad was talking about, it was either Brad or David Schwartz. One of them were talking about this idea that Ripple, the company, might not need to exist in the future in terms of the XRP ledger and XRP and on-demand liquidity working on its own. Basically, what somebody was saying is they are kind of the babysitters of this system today, but one day they will be able to kind of move away from that. And, the XRPL, XRP on-demand liquidity, XRP usage, they will no longer need Ripple. It'll be its own ecosystem and it will work on its own. And so, it makes sense now that Ripple wants to look for new verticals because they want to continue growing as a company. They don't want to be a one-trick pony. And so, we've seen their successful migration, and they are committing, guys, $1 billion to this. According to Garlinghouse, Ripple plans to use the money in markets it considers friendly towards blockchain technology. He goes on to say, I think we'll look at making acquisitions in markets that are friendly to these technologies. You had representation from the United Arab Emirates. You had representation from Switzerland. These are countries that are providing the clarity for entrepreneurs to invest, and that allows a company like Ripple that is larger to invest. We have more than $1 billion in cash on our balance sheet. We want to deploy that and grow both organically, internally, but also inorganically through acquisitions. So taking a bit of a different approach here, maybe not a different approach, but a varied approach, not putting all their eggs in one basket, making sure that, they continue to grow as a business. And guys, diversifying, this is important in any type of investment. I mean, Ripple is a business. They're diversifying by moving into other verticals. They don't want to just, rely on one single prong: liquidity, cross-border payments. That's how they started. And maybe that's how you guys started too. I know I did, buying one cryptocurrency, hoping it would moon. I mean, over the last bull run, I did decide to buy more cryptos. I cashed out of some of those positions. I made some good profits. And so, this time around, I thought I would let you guys know you can follow me trading. I'm going to be documenting my trading journey on Patreon. It's only $5 a month. And yes, diversifying. I'm getting into many different cryptocurrencies. It's not about finding the absolute bottoms or the absolute tops. It's really kind of a common sense approach to trading. And, we're going to be looking at a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. Hopefully some of these will pump even before the market pumps and gets to all-time high, which is, when are we predicting this? Sometime in 2024, 25 maybe? So I'm going to be picking coins, guys. I'm going to be monitoring them. We're going to be cashing out for real profits. And I think this is what got people really excited when I told them about this trade that I made when I bought BNB coin for about $24, give or take, back in September of 2020, and I cashed out at $651, right up here. It was right in and around here. Let me find that there, 651, give or take. So very, very close to the top. You guys can see the top of the market was just over $700 per coin. So I got out at 651. This was my best trade back in 2021, making a profit of about 2,700% on that particular trade. So yeah, guys, if you want to follow me on this journey, it's only $5 a month, my Patreon channel. Want to keep moving though? More information is being uncovered from Ripple partner Fable. Here's a deck from October highlighting Ripple integrator Fable. Okay, they're a company integrated with Ripple. It is a pitch they made to banks for their cross-border platforms. It mentions Ripple as a strategic partner along with Visa, MasterCard, and Western Union. So take a look at some of these slides here. Okay, Fable cross cross-border payment platform. One of their strategic partners, you guys can see here, the only cryptocurrency-related company is Ripple, but also they're working with MasterCard, Visa. We also know Ripple does have ties to MasterCard and Visa specifically through Earthport. But also take a look at some of these gateways, guys. UPI, which is a big one in India, which we recently just talked about in a video the other day. Disbursement partners include Tranglo, iPay, and Visa Direct. And then just down here, if we take a look at some of these, Wrath of Condiment says, along with the first slide, this one cites a number of companies using the platform, some of which are also Ripple users, providing some leads perhaps to look into. Axis Bank is a Ripple partner. Yes Bank, we got Kotak here. I believe Federal Bank is one as well, and Standard Charter, obviously. So an interesting connection to note. A lot of these companies integrated with RippleNet technology, and we're starting to see this more and more, right? A lot of these companies realizing that, the partnerships, the cooperation can really help them leverage the technology and really get to where they want to go. Oh, also just notice this. Via Americas is also a Ripple partner over here that I forgot to mention. Anyway, wanted to move along here, guys. Michael Branch brought this to my attention. Ashish Birla here talking about the Internet of Value. And I know we were kind of on the fence on whether Amazon was a Ripple partner. I know there was, we were going back and forth. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that Amazon is a Ripple partner, but there has been no official documentation. Amazon has listed Ripple on their website. We know that there is a connection through the AWS service, but Amazon specifically, well, did Ashish Birla let it slip 5 years ago? I don't know. You be the judge.
And so there are a lot of problems that you have to solve. And we talked to a lot of our customers around the world. And I was surprised that even large customers, it takes them 3 to 5 days to get the payment where it needs to be. And, this was the case of Amazon paying merchants cross-border and taking weeks for that payment to arrive. 5% of payments fail using the traditional wire system.
What was that, Ashish?
And so there are a lot of problems that you have to solve. And we talked to a lot of our customers around the world. And this was the case of Amazon.
This was the case of Amazon. We talked to our large customers, and this was the case with Amazon, and I think Nick Turn here also picked up on that. Amazon is a Ripple customer. Again, this is from 5 years ago, and there's always been speculation that, this was the case. However, this clip has just come to me recently, so wanted to thank Michael Branch for letting me know about this. I mean, there's all kinds of speculation going on, but, a lot of the times, these ties are in plain sight. I wanted to switch gears a little bit here with regards to the Ledger situation. I know some of you guys have been asking me, some of you guys have been tweeting me, some of you guys have been asking me on my Patreon channel in private messages about the Ledger and if I'm going to be taking my crypto off the Ledger. Long and the short of it, guys, I don't think there is really a pressing issue with Ledger. That's not to say that I'm not looking for other options. I'm always interested in, whatever's new. I really like that Game Boy idea about, putting the cold wallet storage solution in a Game Boy. It's also a good way to hide your cryptocurrency. Anyway, David Schwartz here commenting on the recent Ledger debacle. I have a suggestion for Ledger that might end this debacle once and for all. He says, number 1, apologize for the poorly thought out announcement. Number 2, don't sign or release the firmware as planned. Number 3, instead create 2 firmware streams, one with recovery and one without. Ship the firmware without recovery. So this is a great idea, a great out of the box idea. Number 4, permit changing streams, but wipe all key material in a stream change. Number 5, publicly and clearly commit to never introduce a feature to existing products in their default firmware streams that permits key material to leave the device at any time other than when it is generated. Number 6, he says publicly and clearly commit to always requiring keys be wiped when switching streams. And number 7, he says, ensure the prompting around the recover feature forces the user to fully acknowledge their understanding that this feature can make their keys available to governments and civil litigants who sue them. And I think there are some people that are maybe taking this a little bit too far. Igloo XRP here saying only flaw with that, David, is a loss of trust. Hard to gain it back once you start introducing backdoors to your money. David Schwartz responding, there's nothing they can do about the damage they've already done. The sooner they start fixing it, the better. Okay. I get it. I get that people are upset, but here's what Pascal Gauthier said about Ledger Recover in a recent interview that he did. Listen to this.
99% of the cases, there is no collusion that is really possible between the three entities, and the way that this is built. But we've released a lot of content. The way that this is built, you can only only the user can sort of call back the 3 shards. The only concern really is if we get subpoena by a government to say now this user specifically, we would like you to, retrieve the 3 shards, etc. So that's not a real concern in the end, because for several reasons. One, you only get subpoena like this by governments if it's a serious act, like terrorism, drugs, etc., etc. Like, it's not true that the average person gets subpoenaed every day.
Can I just interrupt there? Coinbase had all their customer data subpoenaed by the IRS.
John Doe.
Yeah, and so they had to supply every customer. Was it over $10,000 or 20,000?
20,000.
20,000
over a 3-month rolling period.
And they gave all. Their
and Coinbase
data.
fought back because they wanted, I
They
think,
did.
3,000.
But Coinbase is a bank. This is not a banking service. Okay, so it's very different.
But it's what I'm saying is the IRS wanted that information. If something
There is no
like,
information for the IRS on this.
Well, you do have XPubs, but you had them before too on Ledger Live, right?
I mean, there is no real information for the IRS on this, etc. And by the way, again, this is there will be trade-offs in the future.
Yeah.
So, we're not saying that if you're uncomfortable with this, you can keep your 24 words and keep doing what you're doing today. This doesn't change anything. Okay, doesn't change anything. Doesn't create a backdoor. We can come back on open source, not open source. But in the end, we're a good actor. We don't create backdoors in our user's device. And by the way, if we did, the business goes south very quickly.
Business goes south very quickly if they were bad actors. I feel like Ledger realizes the problem with this, but they're also, taking it upon themselves to do the right thing. I mean, I get it. You can't really have your cake and eat it too. If they are subpoenaed ever, they do have to hand over the goods, unfortunately. But, they're not going to subpoena every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. So the people complaining, 99.999% of them, are probably not going to be affected by this. I know it's not the answer we want to hear, but guys, David Schwartz also commenting on this. This is worth a listen to. Remember, Ledger makes money if users accept this service, and Ledger is still not being clear about this very real risk when they try to introduce their customers to it. Subpoenas are available to civil plaintiffs in state courts. So David Schwartz also commenting. Pedro here saying Ledger Recover is an optional service. We all can use Ledger without using Recover. Those that evaluate possibility of losing seed phrases versus the possibility of a subpoena and other risks of backup compromise may consider using Recover. Those that trust their own capacity to store and protect seed phrases don't need to use Recover. And David Schwartz says, the problem is that the product has gone from the hardware and firmware ensures nobody can exfiltrate seeds or keys to be careful not to get tricked into exfiltrating seeds and keys. That's a massive reduction in security and radical change in the risk model. So again, very good points on both sides. I like David Schwartz's solution though. Have an option for a firmware upgrade if you want one, but don't put everybody on that same path. So something to think about there for sure. And then guys, I happened upon this interesting take on why the SEC attacked XRP. An alternative conspiracy theory coming from Coin Bureau. Listen to this.
Some also believe that the SEC was in cahoots with Ethereum's biggest backers to protect ETH and attack its biggest competitors, which includes XRP. However, I don't believe this conspiracy is true. This is because there's an even bigger conspiracy that's been brought to light since the start of the year. In case you haven't noticed, US regulators have been cracking down on crypto companies and projects that compete with the Fed's upcoming FedNow payment system, basically a CBDC prototype. If you've watched any of our recent videos about the ongoing crypto crackdown, you'll know that US regulators are targeting banks with 24/7 payment networks. You'll also know that US regulators are currently scrutinizing stablecoin issuers. Now, this makes sense considering stablecoins are digital dollars. And now consider this. The biggest competitor to stablecoins was, or rather is, XRP. This was mentioned by Avalanche founder Emin Gün Sirer, and I'll never forget it. I'll also never forget the zero-fee international transaction feature introduced by Coinbase in 2019, which leveraged, you guessed it, XRP and USDC. Put simply, it appears that XRP was seen as the primary competitor to the payment systems being set up by central banks around the world. It was also seen as the primary competitor to stablecoins, some of whom have been explicit about their intentions to become CBDCs. This could be why XRP was targeted. We'll find out if either of these conspiracies are true when the Hinman documents are made public.
Wow, so an alternative point of view. on ETHgate, not so much focusing on Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation, but focusing on XRP and how, it has enabled all these other smaller banks to basically compete with FedNow. Now, this kind of makes sense, but kind of does not make sense in that FedNow, there's so many connections to FedNow and Ripple as well. If you guys didn't see my video I did this morning, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. Basically the FedNow service runs on Valente technologies, which is Ripple enabled. However, the FedNow, somebody from FedNow, was a FedNow representative, came out and did say that FedNow is not going to be using XRP, at least not right away, but is definitely enabled with Valente. And the other thing was, FedNow runs domestic payments. So, I mean, there's no real need for XRP for domestic payments. But Coin Bureau here does bring up a lot of interesting points here. Jungling commenting on this: for the record, Coinbase did not deploy a cross-border payment service leveraging XRP. This was simply part of their Learn program advertising. Mike Nardolio claims no one was confused by this, but once again, someone is. Any crypto is free being transferred Coinbase to Coinbase. Ponderous fella down here saying, also for the record, this guy is very anti-XRP, played XRP down. XRP was never featured on his radar. Then of late, and I mean late, it has been, given that he has realized that there is a big XRP community of followers that he was missing out on. Things that make you go, Anders here also commenting he's wrong about FedNow since it's unrelated to a CBDC. But there could be a connection to FedNow and CBDCs down the road. I mean, we really don't know what the Fed is planning and how they plan on rolling out a central bank digital currency, if they plan on doing it. I mean, if it happens, if it goes through, I mean, they want it to happen in some capacity. But Cug's even commenting on this literally makes no sense, as Ripple is on the Faster Payments Task Force. Ripple helped build FedNow. Also, RippleNet partners are FedNow providers. So that is kind of the same take that I am getting from this. I mean, I don't know how legitimate this theory is. The ETHgate theory certainly does have more ties to corruption, to central bankers, Gary Gensler, the JP Morgan stuff too, right? Could it even be that the powers that be have gone to Coin Bureau and said, hey, can you help us out by taking some of the heat off of us and put this video out for your viewers to see? I'm just speculating here. I'm not saying that's what's happening, guys. But let me remind you that Coin Bureau here has over 2.26 million subscribers. So they have a huge reach. This video alone got 93,000 views from only 19 hours ago. It is certainly something to think about, but that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.